A billionaire woman offered a permanent residence visa to a simple maintenance worker on one condition: he had to get her pregnant. But by saying yes, he opened a dangerous door. A door neither he nor she should have ever crossed. Why did he accept, and why was she so desperate? I was a simple maintenance worker in a large oil company. A worn uniform, a salary barely enough to feed my little brother, son. Every morning, the same fatigue, the same heaviness in my chest. Until that day, that morning when Mrs. Elizabeth Carter had me called to her office. Elizabeth was more than a director. She was the woman everyone both feared and admired, billionaire, American. When her voice came across the intercom, "10, come to my office," I first thought it was a mistake. I had never spoken to her, never. My heart was pounding too fast. The steps of the grand staircase echoed like drums beneath my feet. Her office was another world, glass walls, an icy air conditioning unit like an endless winter. And there, at the back behind her, the receding sea, like a promise. Elizabeth stood there, tall, elegant. Her light eyes pierced me like rays. She simply said, "Sit down." I sat down, my hands sweaty. Then she slid a dark blue folder toward me, slowly, as if inside it lay something that would change my life. When I opened it, I thought my heart would stop. A permanent visa application, my name, my face already printed on it. She looked at me without blinking. "You know what this means?" I breathed out. "Yes, ma'am. It means a new life." She offered a near-invisible smile. "I can offer you that life, Tenny. A life where you will never lack anything again. But I need something in return. Something only you can give me." My breath caught. "What do you want?" She leaned forward. Her voice became grave, slow, almost a whisper. "I want you to give me a child." Silence slapped me. I didn't understand immediately. "A child?" She nodded, her gaze hard. "I don't want a husband. I don't want attachments. I only want an heir." And there, everything tipped, between the promise of a new life and the price she was asking me to pay. She looked me straight in the eyes. "I don't want love, Tenny. I want a child discreetly, without scandal. You give me that, and I give you everything." The air grew heavier. My throat was dry, my hands trembling. A billionaire was offering me exactly what I had begged the heavens for years: a way out, a chance, a future. But the price she was putting on the table was beyond anything I had imagined. Elizabeth came close enough that I could smell her perfume, both soft and sharp. "Think carefully, Tenny. This kind of offer never comes twice." The decision. That evening, when I came home, Son looked at me worriedly. "Why are you trembling like that? Did they fire you?" I forced a smile, but inside, it was a war between fear and temptation. How could I explain to him that the most powerful woman in the company had just proposed something no one would believe possible? I lay for hours, staring at the cracked ceiling of my room. Her words spun over and over in my head: "Give me a child, and I'll give you everything." At that moment, I knew my life was hanging off a cliff. One step, and nothing would ever be the same. I didn't sleep all night. Elizabeth's phrases haunted my dreams. "Give me a child." How can a poor man even comprehend such a request? Me, the one who begged to survive every day, it was she now who was begging me for what only I could offer her. At dawn, Son was already coughing beside me, 16 years old, thin as a shadow. Just the day before, the landlord had threatened to throw us out. Every problem in my life seemed to point to the same solution: Elizabeth, her offer, as if everything else was a wall and she was the only open door. But could I really sell my body to buy our freedom? That day at work, I did everything to avoid her. I swept, I repaired, I hid behind pipes, but her presence weighed on the walls. It was as if even silence followed her. And just before closing, her secretary appeared. "Mr. Tenny, the madam asks for you." My stomach tightened. I entered her office. She was there, a glass of red wine in her hand, staring at me without a word. "You didn't give me an answer yesterday." I stammered. "Madam, what you are asking of me it's too big, too heavy." She stood up. Her heels clicked on the marble. She approached. Her perfume enveloped me again. "Tell me, Tenny, what is bigger than freedom? What is bigger than offering your brother a future?" She tapped the folder on the table. "Your visa, Ready, signed, everything. All it takes is a choice. And that night, for the first time, it wasn't her proposition that scared me, it was her certainty. But why me? You could pay anyone. Her lips stretched into a thin, almost imperceptible smile. Because you are not just anyone. Tenny, you are humble, you are clean. I have observed you for months. You won't blackmail me. You won't chase my money. You'll do what's necessary and disappear into the life I will have offered you. I wanted to answer, but no words came out. Then she leaned in even closer. Her eyes burned into mine. I don't like to wait, Tenny. Tomorrow evening, you give me your answer. After that, the door closes forever. My legs were shaking when I left her office. On the bus ride home, the street lights mingled with my tears. Around me, people were shouting, talking politics, grumbling about prices, about life. But in my head, only one voice echoed, tomorrow evening, or the door closes forever. When I got home, Son was sitting in the dark. No electricity. He smiled faintly, a piece of paper in his hand. Look, big brother, I got second place in class. My teacher says if I work even harder, I could get a scholarship. I stared at that trembling sheet in his fingers. My heart squeezed. How much longer could this boy's light shine in a world that only listened to money? That night, I didn't sleep. I cried silently because my decision wasn't just going to change my life. It was going to change his, ours. By morning, I had chosen, and that choice weighed like a stone in my chest. When I entered Elizabeth's office that day, my voice was trembling. But I spoke. Madam, I will do it. Her smile widened slowly, dangerously. She took the folder, slid it toward me. Good choice, Tenny. And at that precise moment, my destiny closed in on me. But what I didn't yet know was that by saying yes, I had just opened a door to something that she herself hadn't anticipated. Castle, the price of silence. The days that followed sped by like a dream. A dream you don't wake up from. One morning, I was still that simple employee in a faded uniform, the same tired look, the same suspended life. The next day, I was stepping out of Elizabeth's private car in front of a huge mansion, white walls reaching the sky, chandeliers shining through immense windows, guards at every corner. I had only seen such places in discarded magazines at the office. Inside, she walked ahead of me. Her heels struck the marble like drumbeats. She didn't turn around once until we reached the grand living room. There she turned, observed me for a long time, as one looks at a rare object they just bought. You're nervous, she said, in a neutral tone. I swallowed hard. Yes, ma'am. And in that suspended silence, I understood that nothing ever again would be normal. It's not something I could have imagined, I murmured. Her lips drew a calm, almost condescending smile. That's because you still think like a poor man, Tenny. Stop thinking survival. Start thinking legacy. She waved a hand. A servant immediately appeared, a tray with juice and cookies in hand. But my throat was too tight to swallow anything. Elizabeth settled into the large armchair, legs crossed, her gaze fixed. There are rules, Tenny. If we do this, everything must remain secret. No one, not in the company, not even the guards outside, must know what is happening between us. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, I whispered, almost inaudibly. Good. Tomorrow, the doctor will come for the final tests. After that, we begin. Her voice seemed calm, but behind that control, I felt an urgency, an inner fire I didn't understand. Why could a woman like her be so desperate? And above all, why me? That evening, she lodged me in a guest room. I watched the ceiling fall asleep. I was in a life that wasn't mine, but my heart remained a prisoner of the other one, where sun coughed at night and rats scratched at the corridor door. Broken heart, the unforeseen fissure. Morning arrived too quickly. A private doctor came in, briefcase in hand. Blood tests, examination. More questions. Elizabeth observed every gesture, every word. Her eyes were cold, calculated. He is in perfect health, the doctor finally said. Elizabeth breathed a sigh of relief before dismissing him with a brief gesture. Then she turned to me. Now we move forward. My hands were sweaty, my legs ready to flee. But flee where? Back to the dust, to the landlord who still threatened us, plunged back into the void. That evening, she had me called to her bedroom. Golden curtains, the smell of roses. Elizabeth stood near the window. The setting sun made her hair shine like fire. When she turned around, her eyes were sharper than ever. "It's time, Tenny. You won't regret it." I nodded slowly. My heart was beating so fast I was sure she could hear it. And as I walked into that room, I understood that I was walking towards something no man could have understood. But deep down, I also felt that even she wasn't ready for what was about to follow. Her gaze wasn't just powerful anymore. It was searching, probing. Her voice suddenly became softer than ever. "This is not about feelings, Tenny. This is about a goal." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, my throat dry. But after our first intimacy, I understood something she hadn't anticipated. Silence weighs heavier than money. She had the wealth, the power. But in that room, Elizabeth looked like a woman carrying loneliness like a diamond too heavy around her neck. The days turned into weeks. Every evening, she had me called, always behind closed doors. We spoke little. But in those rare moments, I perceived another face hidden beneath the billionaire's. One evening, after her private doctor's visit, Elizabeth sat across from me in the living room. She poured herself a glass of wine, her shoulders slightly slumped, a different kind of fatigue, not the kind a bed can cure. The kind that comes from the heart. "Do you think I'm crazy?" Her question froze me. "No, ma'am." She laughed. A short, bitter laugh. "Don't lie. You think it's insane, don't you? A rich woman who brings a maintenance worker into her home just to have a child. Who would do that?" I didn't answer. I wasn't even capable of it. She lowered her eyes to her glass, the wine turning slowly as if she were searching for the answer at the bottom of the red. "The men. I can't trust them anymore. All the ones I loved wanted my fortune, my empire, my connections. Never me. Never me." Her voice cracked just once. Then in a whisper, "So I chose differently. I chose you." Those words struck me harder than I would have thought. At that moment, I no longer saw a boss. I no longer saw a woman of power. I saw a broken soul, wounded by too much betrayal, desperately seeking something real. But despite everything, the fear remained, because with every look she cast at me, I never knew if she saw Tenny, the simple worker, or just a body chosen to fulfill a purpose. One night, after it all, she lay down against her pillows and murmured almost to herself, "Maybe I made the wrong choice." Those words slid into the air like an icy breath. The wrong choice? Me? This project? Or something else entirely? I wanted to ask her, but her eyes were already closed, and silence covered the room like a cold blanket. As I returned to the guest room, my heart was pounding. I felt it. Something was changing, and that change was going to shake both our lives far beyond what we could imagine. Police car light, the whispers and the warning. The following weeks, my life no longer had any clear meaning. By day, I still wore my faded uniform, sweeping corridors, repairing leaks, under the gaze of those who knew nothing. But at night, I lived in Elizabeth's house. I had become the prisoner of a secret capable of destroying us both. In the beginning, I kept telling myself it was just for the visa, just for son, for his future. But little by little, the lines began to blur. Elizabeth was no longer the same icy woman I had known. Sometimes, she would laugh. Short, sudden laughs, as if she herself was surprised by them. She asked me questions about son, about my childhood, about the little streets where I grew up. Things no billionaire should have wanted to know. And that's where I understood. What we were experiencing was no longer a simple agreement. She remained powerful, yes, always straight, always self-controlled. But in those stolen hours behind drawn curtains, I saw the shadow of a woman looking for something deeper than money. And beneath her calm smile, I started to see the cracks. One evening, she came back from a board meeting. Her hands trembled as she poured the wine. "They think I can't lead because I don't have an heir," she said, her voice hard. "These men sitting around the table remind me every day that without a child, my empire has no future. That's why I need you, Tenny. That's why I need this to work." I nodded, but my chest tightened. She wasn't just desperate, she was haunted. Then came the day that changed everything. Her private doctor returned for a checkup. I watched him as he spoke to her in a low voice. At first, her face was calm. Then it froze, and finally, she went pale. When he left, she stayed there, motionless, her eyes fixed on the floor. "What did he say, madam?" I asked softly. She looked up, and in her gaze, I saw something unknown in her for the first time: fear. "It's nothing," she said. "Just a routine check." But that night, when the whole mansion fell asleep, I heard her crying. Stifled sobs, but so sharp they woke me up. The next day, she avoided my gaze. She retreated into her calls, her folders, her meetings. But I knew, something had just shifted. And just before I left for work, she stopped me at the door. Her hand trembled as it rested on my arm. "Tenny, if what the doctor suspects is true, then this might not end as we planned." My breath hitched. "What do you mean?" Her lips pursed, and for the first time since I'd known her, Elizabeth Carter, the untouchable woman who could make men bend with a single look, looked uncertain. She whispered, almost to herself, "There is something about you, Tenny, that I hadn't planned." Then she turned away, leaving me frozen on the doorstep, my heart pounding too hard, full of questions none of which had an answer yet. And that day, without even understanding why, I felt that this story, ours, was only just beginning. Telephone receiver, the secret contact. Eyes fixed on the ceiling, I counted my breaths. The house was silent, but my chest rumbled as if something wanted to escape. Elizabeth's words still resonated: "There is something about you, Tenny." I didn't know if it was a promise or a warning. I got up, washed my face with cold water, then sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand. 3 missed calls from son. I called back immediately. "Little brother, are you okay?" His voice was soft, worried. "You haven't been home for days." "I'm fine. I'm just working late, that's all." A silence. Then his voice lower: "The landlord came back. He wants the rest of the rent before Friday." My stomach clenched. "I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Focus on school and eat this morning." "Okay. Okay. Be careful, big brother." When the call ended, I looked up at the white wall in front of me. And there, I felt the full weight of my life. 2 worlds. One small, warm, with a leaky roof and a hungry boy. The other immense, cold, full of secrets, too big for me. Downstairs, the air smelled of coffee and lemon. Elizabeth was already in the living room, dressed in a navy blue suit, perfect down to the strand of hair. But her eyes betrayed a sleepless night. "Good morning," I said softly. She didn't look up. "Eat something," she said, her eyes fixed on her tablet. "You look pale." "I'm fine." "No, you're not," she murmured. Then more firmly, "Sit down." A maid arrived and placed a plate in front of me. My hands were trembling as I grabbed the fork. Elizabeth finally looked up. "Starting today, we remain discreet. No mistakes, no noise. You continue your job as usual, and you only come here when I call you. If anyone asks, you say you are doing technical checks here. Nothing else." "Yes, ma'am." She observed me for a long time. "Are you scared?" "Yes." A thin smile. "Good. Fear makes people cautious." Her chauffeur dropped me off at the company. The building was already buzzing. Heels, folders, muffled voices. No one looked at me. And for the first time, that invisibility hurt less. I had other things to fear. A thought gnawed at me: what if all this was just a game for her? What if, once she got what she wanted, she threw me away? Around noon, murmurs began to rise like smoke. 2 young employees were talking near the water cooler. "Did you notice? Dylan? The madam often has the maintenance guy come up." "Which one?" "The one who never speaks." I lowered my eyes, continued mopping, but every word pierced my skin like a needle. A manager walked by, a smile that hid something. And there I felt the air itself change around me, thinner, sharper. Around 2 p.m., a message from the HR department dropped on my phone. 10. Appointment at the clinic for a routine medical checkup. Internal policy. My blood ran cold. Internal policy. Those 2 words sounded like an alert. The clinic smelled of disinfectant and fresh paint. A nurse took my vital signs without looking up from her screen. High stress level. "Are you sleeping well?" "Not really." "Eat, rest. Your body carries your future." Her sentence hovered in the air for a moment, as if she knew more than she was saying. When I stepped into the hallway, I almost bumped into Mr. Harris, one of the senior executives. Always impeccable. Well-trimmed beard, sharp gaze. He stopped me, eyebrows slightly furrowed. You look exhausted, Tenny. I'm fine, sir. He lowered his voice. Be careful. Our office is made of glass, but people still hide behind the curtains. I had nothing to answer. I simply nodded and continued walking. Shushing faced the velvet box. That evening, Elizabeth's chauffeur waited for me at the back exit. I got into the car. Through the tinted windows, the city sped by. Billboards, horns. The sun was setting slowly, red and heavy on the horizon. I was breathing badly. My hands were shaking, and I couldn't stop them. When the mansion gates opened, everything seemed bigger than the day before. The lawn too green, the air too cold, the silence too deep. Elizabeth was in her office, not in a suit this time. Simple, soft, almost fragile cream pajamas. She stood in front of a wall covered with framed pictures, conference photos, handshakes with governors, speeches, inaugurations. In every image, her face seemed carved from marble. Without turning around, she said, I heard about the visit to the clinic. My heart leaped. HR said it was a routine check. Perhaps, she replied, turning slowly towards me. Her eyes were calm but too fixed. Or perhaps some people are starting to get curious about your condition. I swallowed, unable to say a word. What do you want me to do? Act normally. Her voice softened. And trust me. She approached the desk, opened a drawer, and took out a small velvet box. She placed it in front of me without letting go immediately. It's a phone. She opened the box. A thin, black, discreet device. Private line for me only. No calls to others, no messages. You keep it hidden. I nodded, my heart beating faster than ever. Yes, ma'am. Good. She walked around the desk, locked the door, cutting off all noise from the rest of the house. She stood right in front of me, closer than ever. Her eyes were no longer cold, something human was hidden in them, an unexpected warmth. Tenny, I won't let anyone hurt you, because I care about our connection. Those words touched a place in me I didn't know existed. I wanted to believe her, but I also wanted to flee. A light knock sounded at the door. I froze. Her chief of staff entered, her face tense. Madam, the board chairman is on the line. He wants to confirm tomorrow's vote. Elizabeth's jaw tightened. Tell him I'll call him back. The woman hesitated, and in that hesitation, I felt that something invisible was about to erupt. He said it's urgent, the chief of staff whispered. Elizabeth gave me a quick glance, then turned to the phone. Her voice became calm, sharp. Mr. Chairman, good evening. If they want to doubt my leadership, let them do it in broad daylight. I watched her talk, fascinated. Every word precise, every silence sharp, cold, controlled, dangerous. When she hung up, the metallic edge in her voice vanished. The chief of staff left, and I closed the doors again. Elizabeth exhaled slowly. They are circling me, Tenny, men ready for anything, for a position, for a title. They think I'm weak because I don't have a family, because I don't have an heir. That's why I can't fail. Her eyes drilled into mine. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, I murmured, my voice rough in my throat. She came very close. We continue, but slowly, cautiously. That night, when she called me to her room, the air seemed heavier than before. The wind made the curtains tremble, and silence swallowed everything else. Every gesture resembled a slow, suspended dream. She grasped my hand, and this time, she kept it in hers longer than necessary. Her fingers were cold. At one point, she pulled away and observed me as if seeing me for the first time. What is it? I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned her back. But her voice cracked on the last word. Telephone receiver, the midnight message. The next morning, the private phone vibrated. A message, no name, just an unknown number. We need to talk. Urgent. It's about Elizabeth, your boss. My heart froze. I looked down the corridor, the maid's cart rolling softly on the marble. The message was still blinking, red like a signal in the night. A second one arrived before I could even breathe. Don't show her this. When you are at work, come to the staff door. 8 p.m. sharp. I will tell you a secret. I felt the ground waver beneath my feet. Whoever was writing knew something. Perhaps our secret, or worse. I typed with trembling fingers. Who are you? The answer dropped immediately. Someone who knows why she chose you. What she is hiding from you. I remained frozen for a long time, until at the end of the hallway, I heard Elizabeth's voice calling my name, and for the first time since the beginning, I didn't know whether to go toward that voice or flee. All day, the hidden phone burned in my pocket. Every step, every sound, I felt the words vibrate against me. Staff door, 8 p.m. I tried to sweep, to repair, to breathe. Nothing worked. Son had called again, worried about the rent. The deadline. I promised him once again that everything would change soon. As evening fell, my shirt stuck to my back. I could neither eat nor remain still. My heart was beating too fast. I walked toward the staff door. The handle creaked when I pushed it. A warm gust of air rushed in. And in that shadow, I knew that everything that was about to follow would no longer be an ordinary secret. Outside, under the pale light of a street lamp, a shadow leaned against a parked car. Here, a voice murmured. I froze. The man advanced slowly, tall, dark skin, in his 30s, white shirt, sleeves rolled up. His eyes had the sharpness of those who know too much. You don't know me, he said. But I know her, and I know why she chose you. My heart pounded. Who are you? Call me Ad. I used to work for her, personal assistant. I swallowed hard. Why are you here? He glanced around, then leaned toward me, almost whispering. This child story is just a mask. She has other reasons. Reasons she hasn't shown you yet. My throat went dry. He observed me for a long time, then slipped an envelope into my hand. Read this when you're alone, and above all, never let her see it. If you value your life and your little brother's, leave before it's too late. My fingers trembled around the envelope. Why me? Why warn me? A bitter grimace crossed his face. Because I made the mistake of trusting her too, and it almost destroyed me. A car engine rumbled nearby. Ad stepped back into the shadows. She monitors everything, Tenny. Be careful, very careful. And he disappeared into the night, swallowed by the darkness. Bomb the envelope and the test. I slipped the envelope into the pocket of my uniform, then hurried toward the mansion. My mind was racing. Every step echoed like an echo in a closing cage. Elizabeth was waiting for me in the living room, a glass of wine in her hand. She smiled at me. A calm smile, too calm. You're late, she said softly. Where were you? My throat tightened. The envelope was burning against my thigh. I went to see my little brother, son. She approached. Her eyes searched mine. I hope you're not lying to me, Tenny. Her hand grazed my arm, soft, but her gaze was sharp as a blade. And there I understood. She wasn't losing control. No, she was testing me. Every word, every silence. And if she ever discovered the existence of Ad or this envelope, I didn't know what she would be capable of. One thing, however, was clear. The balance between us had just broken, and sooner or later, one of us would fall. That night, I slipped the envelope under my pillow. Impossible to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ad's face in the shadow and Elizabeth's cold smile in the living room. My hands trembled when I opened the envelope. Inside, a few photos, Elizabeth in London on the arm of an unknown man. A newspaper article talking about a scandal in a European subsidiary. And a medical file marked confidential with her name at the very top. One line sent a chill down my spine. Fertility treatment, failure, high genetic risk. My heart tightened. So it wasn't just a desire for a child, it was a wound, an obsession born of failure, a secret she had wanted to cover up with a new face, mine. I quickly put the papers away when someone knocked on my door. Tenny, come down for breakfast. It was one of the mansion staff. I hid the envelope under the mattress before following him. At the office, later in the day, something had changed. The air, the glances. Colleagues looked away, then whispered as soon as I passed. Near the elevator, Two men in suits snickered quietly. Isn't that the maintenance guy? Maintenance? That guy lives better than you now. He slept in Madame Elizabeth's house 3 times this week. My ears burned. I kept walking as if I hadn't heard anything. But their words had lodged in me like thorns. The walls of the glass tower suddenly seemed narrower, as if the air itself was judging me. By noon, the rumors had turned into certainty. The looks were no longer discreet. Some carried envy, others contempt. But all carried the same silent question: what is a simple maintenance worker doing so close to the boss? That evening, Elizabeth summoned me to her office. Her tone seemed light, but her eyes were sharper than ever. I'm hearing things, she said, pouring herself a glass of water. Rumors, whispers. Do you know anything about that, Tenny? My palms were sweaty. No, ma'am. I don't pay attention to gossip. She stared at me for a long time, then a slight smile touched her lips. Good. Because rumors, you know, kill faster than the truth. Remember that. I nodded. But inside, my heart was beating so hard I was afraid she would hear it. That evening, back at the mansion, I checked under the mattress. The envelope was still there, but the corner of one photo was folded differently. Someone had touched it. Someone new. And there I understood. I was no longer sure if I was a prisoner of Elizabeth's world, or if her world was starting to close in on me. I slipped the envelope into my pocket, then said I wanted to spend the night at my brother's place. She looked at me in silence, then handed me a wad of bills. Take this. And that was the moment the storm began, silently. First, a simple alert on a business blog: Chevron CEO under investigation for dubious transactions in London. No one was paying attention.